I'm David Jackson, and this is Extra. But what the Marines called a suicide turned out to be a carefully concealed murder. The dead body torched in such a way that the fingerprints, footprints, and even facial characteristics were all burned away. Turns out it was a very professional job, and it leaves police with a very puzzling mystery. Like, who was killed? Immediately, the mercury became a problem because it looks like fun. It's a liquid that doesn't leave anything wet. You can actually plunge your arm down into it and bring your arm back out, and you're left with a dry arm. The problem is you're also left with a toxic arm that can kill you.
Maureen, I'm here in downtown Mobile, Alabama. At least that part of it that's still above water. As you can see, Mobile Bay has been driven up into the downtown, and much of this city is now underwater 2 to 3 feet. Keiko the killer whale, star of the movie Free Willy, is coming back to his original home here on the windy shores of southern Iceland. I'm David Jackson, and coming up on the next Extra, we'll give you all the details of Keiko the killer whale, his amazing journey home. Many of those men and women who work for the Free Willy Keiko Foundation have signed on for a period of time that may run as long as 10 years, which to my estimation might feel like about 50 if you're out here. Diane, I'm here at the base of the mountain, 14,000 feet of imposing rock, and this year very deep snow. Now, for the past few days up here, we've been having warm, summer-like temperatures, and this hot June sun has been melting the deep snow up here very quickly. The lone survivor of the accident, bodyguard Trevor Reese-Jones, is expected to be able to speak with police by the end of the week. His crucial account of what happened is also likely to determine the fate of the 7 photographers who were taken in for questioning after the crash occurred. Maureen, I'm standing here in front of Salpêtrière Hospital in Paris, where bodyguard Trevor Reese-Jones is continuing his very slow recovery from the tragic accident that happened here 10 days ago. Now, doctors I spoke with today inside the hospital told me that Jones has undergone 10 hours of facial surgery over the past 2 days to repair broken bones in his head.
I found myself in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Anderson then says from the backseat of his taxi cab that night, headed for the underpass, right about here, he heard a tremendous explosion of glass and metal, and at that instant, he looked up.
When I looked up, I'm seeing the car coming over this side, going into the wall.
Maureen, I'm standing at the Pont d'Alba tunnel where Princess Diana, Dodi Al-Fayed, and Henri Paul lost their lives in that terrible accident. But now the sole survivor is getting ready to tell the world his story, and everybody is waiting. But that's not the only direction that this investigation is taking. Earlier today, the tunnel was closed down for about 45 minutes while French authorities ushered in members from Scotland Yard's investigating team to show them exactly where and how this accident took place. Today, I went to his modest Paris apartment, which he shared with his mother. On the door, Paris police left this urgent notice, complete with a Ministry of Justice seal that read, "Due to the grave and serious accident that has occurred, we require that you contact the Paris Police Criminal Investigation Division as soon as possible." Police told me that Paul's mother... I just spoke for more than 20 minutes with Henri Paul's self-described best friend. Claude Garrick works right here in this office in downtown Paris, and he has known Henri for many, many years, and in fact was with him the day that he died. Now, Garrick will not appear on camera, but he says that virtually every account of Henri Paul since his death has been a gross distortion of the man's life. Diana was often trying to escape the prying paparazzi, and on that night, August the 31st, here at the Ritz Hotel, she and Dodi thought they could get away from the aggressive photographers by leaving through this back entrance. The identity of Paul's girlfriend is not known because, even as his friends have said, his personal life was kept very discreet. The autopsy report is clear that Henri Paul's alcohol consumption was usually light, and even on the night of the accident, his drinking remains something of a mystery. There were reports that he had whiskey, and lots of it, here at Harry's Bar between 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock that night. But I just spoke to the bar's owner, who doubts that Paul spent much time inside. Here at the department store owned by the father of Dodi Al-Fayed, a clue has been uncovered in the investigation. A startling videotape has been released by the Al-Fayed family, taken just moments before Dodi and Diana's fatal crash. Now, further complicating the issue are the questions of blood alcohol tests that were performed on the body of Henri Paul. In the small towns here on the Welsh-English border, many people are nervously awaiting word on the condition of Trevor Rees-Jones in a Paris hospital. Maureen, the crowds are continuing to pour into the area here around Princess Diana's original home. Diana grew up on a family estate. Of course, she was known as Diana Spencer at the time. Well, Maureen, I talked today to a spokeswoman over at the hospital where investigators had tried to get a written statement from injured bodyguard Trevor Rees-Jones, but they say that today he's still just a little bit too weak to give them that statement, so according to them, they'll try again within the next 24 hours. Maureen, I'm here in front of Salpêtrière Hospital in Paris, where bodyguard Trevor Rees-Jones continues his slow recovery from the deadly accident of August the 31st. Now, access to Rees-Jones has been severely restricted since the crash, but I spoke to somebody today who sees the bodyguard each and every day. I spoke to that person after finding out firsthand just how tight security around the survivor really is. In addition to the bodyguard's recovery, investigators are still poring over the wrecked Mercedes-Benz from the accident. They have been taking a look at paint chips that are on the bumper of the Mercedes that they are trying to determine whether or not came from the accident itself. Latest word that we have from the investigation team, though, is that they believe that paint may have been there from contact with a car previously and not from this particular crash.
Is he an angel of mercy or an angel of death? Yesterday, we brought you the shocking story of Efren Saldivar, a hospital worker who told police he killed up to 50 patients, launching a massive investigation. For most people, it would be a nightmare, a life connected to medical equipment and having to undergo surgery once a month. But I went to Wyoming to meet a teenager who takes that all in stride, and as you'll see, his life is remarkable. The country of France is harboring a convicted killer. 60s activist Ira Einhorn was found guilty of beating his girlfriend to death in his Philadelphia apartment. And after 17 years as a fugitive from justice, Einhorn was finally found living in France. Now his new countrymen refused to send him back to America. I traveled to Einhorn's hideaway to learn why the French want to give this outlaw a new home.
I mean, I don't think he should.
Antoine says he speaks for virtually everyone in this rural town when he says that Ira Einhorn should never be sent back to the United States. He believes that the convicted murderer should never do another day in jail and instead should quietly live out his days right here. And amazingly, the French government agrees. Well, 35 members of the United States Congress have reportedly written letters to the president of France urging him to extradite Einhorn. But according to the mayor of Champagne-Mouton, hundreds of French citizens have written their president urging him to keep Einhorn right where he is. Vore enjoyed his long drives in the desert, and he had lost contact with people before, only to reappear within 2 to 3 days, never much longer. By the time this disappearance lasted 1 week, everyone knew it wasn't just another one of Gary's road trips. But how could he vanish in the desert without a trace? The Baileys did the first thing anybody would do in a case like this. They called the police. But the Joliet Police Department told them there was nothing law enforcement could do, because advertising a child's name and telephone number on the internet and actually recruiting sexual predators is not a crime. Neighbors here in Hurricane were shocked by the charges of child molestation and rape, especially that it would involve 2 of Benson's own daughters, girls many people in the area knew. It is one of the greatest tragedies in America's history, the day that President John F. Kennedy was gunned down in Dallas. Now, the film that captured that sad afternoon in 1963 is for sale, and it's getting a 21st century touch-up. But will digital enhancement reveal new information about the Kennedy assassination? That's all for today. Hope to see you again for the next Extra. The name Montenegro, of course, means mountain that is black. That's because when sea captains were out offshore here and they looked into this landscape, they saw the heavily forested, what looked to them to be black mountains. So that's why they named this country under that name. They did that with the islands also. All the islands that you see dotted offshore appeared to them to be black. The first thing you notice when you come into any hotel room in this country, at least the new hotels like this, is that everything is basically overbuilt. It's twice as thick as it would be in any equal hotel, either in Western Europe or in the United States. The floors, I've been told, are 18 inches thick of poured concrete, which means no sound, no give.
There's no noise between here and the floor down below, and the same thing's true for these walls. They built the walls super thick and heavy so that there can never be sound traveling back and forth between the rooms. I can vouch for that. These rooms are quiet. Coming in off the street into just a small reception area like this of these tiny hotels. They used to be private homes not very long ago. 10 years ago, this was somebody's house. Then they redid it into this size of intimate boutique hotel. This is 65 euros, which is just under $90 for this room. I love the parquet floors. Old. This is, several hundred-year-old building, and you cannot beat the view. There's no way. Deep and clear, cool water. Very nice. You could jump in and swim right here, even though technically you're not allowed to do that. But we're below that British dam, and then of course just above that, not very far, the Aswan High Dam, built by the Soviets in 1971, holding back Lake Nasser, the largest man-made lake anywhere in the world. This was the first cataract area at that time. There weren't any dams on the river at all, so this was a rapids and cataracts. Water came crashing through here. There are pictures only, that were drawn back at the time when this was free-flowing as a rapids, and it was apparently deafening, loud, spectacular. And they came and built homes at the time, right when they built the dams, like that, on the islands that were high enough above the cataracts. This is a very dramatic place, very dramatic scenery, no doubt. The Renaissance spends 2 days in Aswan because there's so much to see. There are bus trips all the way to Abu Simbel, the huge statue complex, 200 miles. 21st century Cairo. A place King Tutankhamun could never have imagined. Now, this building was put together using 2 million 2-ton blocks of sandstone. Some of the blocks inside are as much as 15 tons. It still defies scientific explanation as to how they were exactly put in place. It rises 481 feet above the Giza Plateau, and for 4,700 years, it ranked as the world's largest man-made structure. So this is a mystery.
Then maybe this is a mystery, and this is why I would like to take you and do the adventure.
Let's look.
Okay.
I said yes before I really knew what the mysterious tunnel was like. We will go beneath the Valley of the Kings when we come back in a moment. We find the entrance here to the mysterious shaft that continues to go down further. At first, it is held up by bricks and beams put there just in the last few years by Dr. Hawass and some of his crew. This is dangerous work for any archaeologist, and it is the one place where Dr. Hawass feels most alive.
I've never been this far underground, I don't think.
You never did.
Probably not. I mean, look at these boulders that they fell from the roof? Is that what this did?
Yeah.
This is all stuff that fell right out of the roof?
Yes, all of it.
Oh, great.
Then we can be buried here.
Why do you like that idea?
I know, I will tell you, when I do this, I don't care what will happen to me. For you coming with me here, you now feel the passion of archaeology.
Yes, I do.
You smell the past now.
Yes,
and
I
this
do.
is what I tell people. People write books and they exaggerate story that's not true. They never come to smell the sand.
That's right.
When you smell the sand, you can understand lots of secrets about our ancestors.
We have plunged into the heart of ancient Egypt. It is up to the director of Egypt's Antiquities to decide exactly what artifacts from King Tut's tomb or from ancient Egypt ever go on tour. That means Dr. Zahi Hawass has final say. And he decided to let these 35 objects tour several world cities this year, along with some even older items from the museum in Cairo. Each one has a complete detailed account of its place in history available to you when you go through the LA County Museum of Art over the next several months.